Panorama at 9:30. As the Lawson years are confined to history, David Dimbleby talks to the new Foreign Secretary Douglas Hurd about the crisis of confidence in Mrs. Thatcher's government. And then at 10:10, Murder 1, Broken Vows. Tommy Lee Jones is the priest, witness to a murder.
He seemed like a very special man.
And with Business Matters at 11:45, this is The Business for Monday on 1.
From Newsroom South East tonight, London's biggest community housing scheme may be scrapped because of a British Rail plan. The centre offering new hope to Down and Outs. And the fight to save a Battle of Britain airfield in Kent. That's all in Newsroom South East at 6:30.
This is BBC1.
The 6 o'clock news from the BBC with Anna Ford and Andrew Harvey.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. Norman Tebbett's warning to Mrs. Thatcher. He tells her it's dangerous for a captain to appear semi-detached from the team. A leaked document on electricity privatisation. 18,000 miners' jobs said to be at risk. 7,000 engineering workers start strikes at Rolls-Royce and British Aerospace. 50 children survive a school bus crash, but 2 men die. In Moscow, the KGB responds to a protest outside its headquarters. And why Vera Lynn wants a better deal for war widows. The former Conservative Party chairman Norman Tebbit issued a strong warning to Mrs. Thatcher today that her leadership style could threaten party prospects at the next election. He referred to the appalling political muddle in which Chancellor Nigel Lawson resigned last week and said the Prime Minister couldn't afford any more mishaps, even though people should remember she'd kicked more goals than the rest of the team together. Mr. Tebbett's frank criticism came as a Harris poll of 925 people carried out for tonight's BBC Panorama programme showed that 52% of voters believe Mrs. Thatcher should resign now. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister had lunch at Downing Street with, amongst others, 3 of the party's most powerful men: the Deputy Prime Minister, Sir Geoffrey Howe, Party Chairman Kenneth Baker, and Cranley Onslow, chairman of the 1922 Backbench Committee.
This was a very public show of consultation, with leading Tory backbenchers having told the Prime Minister of their concerns. Some Conservative MPs in private are saying the Prime Minister should step down. But at this lunch, it seems not even the word dismay was used to describe the feelings of disaffected MPs.
That word was not used. Certainly there was concern about the changes last week, but also a very clear commitment that the government must be supported, that the government's policies are continuing, and that we must plan for victory at the next election. You mustn't forget that we're only 2 years into this Parliament. We have a majority of over 100, and we have a great deal to do in the next 2 years.
Do you think there's any doubt that Mrs. Thatcher will be standing as your leader at the next election?
I can detect virtually none. I believe Margaret Thatcher will lead us into the next election as a very strong leader, and we're going to win that election.
After some of the most difficult days in 10 years in power, most Tories return to Westminster anxious to explain